Chosen than great riches, and loving faith. Proverbs 22. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. The rich and poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all. A prudent man foreseeth the evil, and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches, and honor, and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the froward. He that doth keep his soul shall be far from them. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. He that soweth iniquity shall reap vanity, and the rod of his anger shall fail. He that hath a bountiful eye shall be blessed, for he giveth of his bread to the poor. Cast out the scorner, and contention shall go out, yea, strife and reproach shall cease. He that loveth pureness of heart, for the grace of his lips the king shall be his friend. The eyes of the Lord preserve knowledge, and he overthroweth the words of the transgressor. The slothful man saith, There is a lion without. I shall be slain in the streets. The mouth of strange women is a deep pit. He that is abhorred of the Lord shall fall therein. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. He that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want. Bow down thine ear, and hear the words of the wise, and apply thine heart unto my knowledge. For it is a pleasant thing if thou keep them within thee. they shall withal be fitted in thy lips, that thy trust may be in the Lord. I have made known to thee this day, even to thee. Have not I written to thee excellent things in counsels and knowledge, that I might make thee know the certainty of the words of truth, that thou mightest answer the words of truth to them that send unto thee? Rob not the poor, because he is poor, neither oppress the afflicted in the gate, for the Lord will plead their cause, and spoil the soul of those that spoil them. Make no friendship with an angry man, and with a furious man thou shalt not go, lest thou learn his ways, and get a snare to thy soul. Be not thou one of them that strike hands, or of them that are sureties for debts. If thou hast nothing to pay, why should he take away thy bed from under thee? Remove not the ancient landmark which thy fathers have set. Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men.
Sorry about the dead silence there for a moment. I apologize. By the way, it is Friday, October 10th, 2014. This is your host, Mike Callahan, and welcome to the late version of the Watchman news. Had to help my lovely girlfriend in, and so bear with me. Without further ado, and I bet nobody noticed, the suspicious observers link is wrong because somebody forgot to edit it. I don't know who that was. Anyway, it's Friday. That's my excuse. So without further ado, let's do some suspicious observers while I help her get settled in, and we'll go from there. Ben Davidson's report from this morning.
Good morning, folks. We'll start at the northeastern limb of the sun, where a new plasma filament is rising over the horizon. We'll see if this one hangs on or releases like the last one. Quickly updating planetary geometry. Right now, Uranus is almost smack in the midnight position of Earth, opposite the sun, and over the next few days it will geocentrically oppose Venus. Meanwhile, Mercury is coming in to conjoin the sun in about 1 week. Potential flare uptick expected. After that, Venus will conjoin the sun about 1 week later. Something interesting about Venus. We've discussed the planetary changes in wind speed and rotation and its brightness, but don't be fooled by what you see on SOHO. This is a light reflection off the arm that holds the opaque disk in the center to block the solar glare. Venus is changing just like the other planets right now, but this is merely a light effect. We're just 9 days from Comet Siding Spring's close approach to Mars. They are moving satellites to get out of the comet's way, as the coma will collide with the atmosphere of Mars. Full explanations can be found at a link to our Comet Siding Spring playlist right below this video. Some good news. The quakes died down a bit after the 7 magnitude shake in the southeast Pacific yesterday. We've had more of those moderate tremors along the coastlines and also some more shaking on the mid-Atlantic ridge. The latest earthquake watch was based on these coronal holes and was fairly successful. We're in what we've noticed time and time again is the mid-watch lull while the weakest part of the coronal hole faces Earth, but a re-ramp is possible the next few days as the stronger backside of the opening swings in. A note on the rise in neutron counts. While we're at a peak so far in October, according to McMurdo, this is actually run-of-the-mill over the long term and doesn't come close to matching some other fluctuations we've seen over the last 6 months or longer. Solar polar fields are updated again. North is back into positive. If it can maintain this, we'll deem the solar polar flip to finally be over, but she's surprised us before. Solar wind fluctuations are calming but remain slightly above average levels in density. Geomagnetic instability is waning but showing the pressure of the particles still. Solar flaring has hit the floor. After the M flares from the departing group, it has gone completely silent. and the incoming sunspot, while having an umbra of pretty good size, is pretty much all alone and very unlikely to flare as it is now. All in all, pretty calm day on our star. We'll quickly mention methane, as a hotspot has been detected near the Four Corners. It's that red patch you see in the U.S. Southwest. They are fairly certain this is a man-made release. Typhoon Vongfong bearing down on Japan. Well, Japan isn't having it too easy right now, with one volcano already erupted and another showing magma movement with volcanic tremors below. Meanwhile, India's set their eyes on their approaching cyclone, less than 2 days from making landfall. We're also fairly certain that this system in the Atlantic is going to form a named storm in the next day or so, but also fairly sure it's heading out to sea and away from the U.S. Couple notes for North America. A power low off the northwest will bring warmer temperatures and rain to the region. Meanwhile, it's aided by the western flow north of a high-pressure cell, which also reinforces the counterclockwise drive of the Canadian low in the east, driving cool air south in the middle, and also aiding to form the convergence that cuts through the central states. This region was active yesterday, causing some flash flooding in isolated areas. It will be active again tonight with severe storms and flood warnings. And also, don't forget snow at the western portion of the low and the rain coming in the northwest. The clouds twisted around the low the last day in Europe. Tornado dropped in the UK. We've got much of the same warnings today, as the low pressure is driving hard and is met from the south by heat and moisture off the Mediterranean. This drives tonight's warnings to be similar to yesterday's. I'd love some weather shares. Precipitable water overlay shows a cell in eastern Australia, a weak mass from Tasmania to the South Island of New Zealand, and a more definitive convergence on the North Island. That'll about do it there. If you missed last night's upload, it's a good one. Major updates to Earth spots, the sun storm quake connection, and our interview in Joplin. You can also get a chuckle at the male anchors thinking we're government funded, only to be swiftly corrected by Miss Garvilla. Got shots of our star to close, eyes open. No fear, it's 6:15 a.m. Eastern time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
And thanks to Ben Davison for his report today. Oh, yeah. I don't know what I would do without his reports. I sure miss the news in 2 minutes report every day. I wish those guys would get back going. So where to start, huh? I don't know whether to start with the Ebola or with Ferguson. I really don't know. I'm going to go ahead and start with a little bit of Ebola stuff, and then we'll get to the Ferguson stuff, because that's going to be a little bit of a rant. Just a lot of things I'm seeing on social media, and it's just, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to collect my thoughts and gather myself together, so I'm not just rambling, and it's just craziness. But what I want to do is another video. I know BP Earthwatch had released a video just not long ago, and he talks about something very interesting, and it's something that everybody really needs to know, pay attention to, because it's happening here. And he's going to go through what they've done in other countries, and what's going on at this point, Connecticut. Why Texas hasn't done it is beyond me. And then I've got a couple documents that you might be interested in seeing. And then we'll pretty well be on the end of the Ebola thing. It's almost like a media blackout, and I say almost. It is a media blackout. There has been very, very little information coming out about Ebola in the United States, and even Africa for that matter. So I would say be very vigilant as far as that's concerned. But this is a really good video that BP Earthwatch put together, and it shows you, to what extent they've gone in another country, and how that's what it's going to be here. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Connecticut has already done that. I will show you the actual documents showing that Connecticut has done that. and it's pretty scary. And we'll get that out of the way, and then we'll get on the rant. So anyway, without further ado, here is BP Earthwatch with his video that he had today, and I will be back shortly after it's over. As long as wow, okay. It loves me. I must have put that in a different folder. It's Friday. Oh, fun. Okay, here you go.
October 10th, 2014. Guys, some of the things we've been watching around the world for the last couple of years are about to come home, and it's about to be real, and you need to pay attention to this video. Now, this is from Liberia today. Their president, Miss Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, has declared a state of emergency that allows her to impose quarantines. Now, as we have watched these things around the world, we're saying, well, that's the thing to do because you want to isolate it. Now, when these things hit you in the face, they become much more real. Now, let me read this, continue reading this. It says, one parliamentarian, Bofal Chambers, this is the important part, that creeping extra powers could turn Liberia into a police state. Guys, do you realize that a couple of days ago, there were certain papers signed in Connecticut that's about to do the same thing there? They're prepared. And think back over the last year in 2013, we're talking about FEMA Region 3. Connecticut's just north of that area, but close enough to where all the viruses that were ordered, the shots for the viruses, the vaccines, the extra FEMA supplies, water, hazmat suits by the thousands, extra training for the National Guard, police, Homeland Security, things like that, guys, that was started last year. But this goes on, and I'm going to get to that part. It says that the UN says that 233 healthcare workers working in West Africa have now died in the outbreak, the world's deadliest to date. And the nurse in Spain that we've been talking about, she was not in Liberia. She was treating someone that had come from Liberia. Now, the countries, and then Liberia is what we're talking about. They've had 2,316 confirmed or suspected deaths. There's reports that this thing is doubling every 2 to 3 weeks. And if you look at the charts, you can see that this really started getting more recognition, you'd say, in the charts start rising in mid-June. But look at this going up to now, we're looking at 4,032 as of this report. Yes, that's the total. If you're talking about doubling this, how fast will this grow? And now we're starting to see it pop up in other countries. Now let's look at Connecticut. This is what I'm talking about, it getting real for the people in the U.S. We've had a couple scares, but this is Governor Daniel Malloy. A couple of days ago on the 7th, Tuesday, said in response to the epidemic of the Ebola virus, currently affecting multiple countries in Western Africa, and in order to provide the Commissioner of Public Health and other appropriate officials with all authorities necessary to prevent any potential transmission of the Ebola virus within the state of Connecticut, I hereby declare a public health emergency, just like the president of Liberia did, for the state, pursuant to the Connecticut General Statute, Section 19A through A, for the duration of the epidemic, specifically Connecticut General Statute, Section 19A-131B. I authorize the Commissioner of Public Health to order the isolation or quarantine under conditions prescribed by the Commissioner of Public Health of any individual or group of individuals whom the Commissioner reasonably believes, doesn't have to be tested, to have been exposed to, infected with, or otherwise at risk of passing the Ebola virus. Again, Daniel P. Malloy, October 7th, 2014. Guys, what does that mean? It means just what the parliamentarian and Liberian was talking about, a police state coming. Again, think back about all the different things that happened last year with all the supplies being moved into the Northeast. Now, I know Connecticut is north of New York, just barely. So definitely in that region where all of the vaccines were sent, as well as protective hazmat suits. A lot of training went into that area. Now, you've got to realize what this says, and we're going to look at these statutes also, both 19A, 131A, and 131B. But as soon, and listen, in this area is classic for false flags. But let's look at the universal citation. We'll point out a couple of things. It says this is Connecticut General Statutes 19A, 131A. I went and looked it up. It says in the event of a statewide or regional public health emergency, the governor shall make a good faith effort to inform the legislative leader specified in subsection B about this. Goes on to say is to order the commissioner to implement all or a portion of the public health emergency response plan. Listen to this. Authorize a commissioner to isolate or quarantine persons in accordance with 131. Order the commissioner to vaccinate persons in accordance with sections 131E. Order the commission to suspend certain license renewal. They're talking about your driver's license and inspection functions during the period of the emergency and during the 6-month period following the date of the emergency. Do you understand what they're about to do? And there's reports that they're going to that members of Homeland Security are pushing very hard to get this vaccination on your driver's license, whether or not you have been vaccinated. And you will have to have that for a lot of things. But it doesn't get any better if you read through the entire thing. You can pause it and stop it and read it, and there's other sections of it, but I'm pointing out the police state things. But they're talking about any declaration issued pursuant to this section may be renewed by the governor upon its filing with the Secretary of State and with the clerks of the House of Representatives and Senate. How long will the outbreak last? Will it last for 2 years where there will not be another election because of it? All of that will be halted because you will become a military police state. Now, look at the center of this. It says any individual who during the course of a public health emergency declared under this section violates the provision of any ordered issue pursuant to the sections are inclusive or who intentionally obstructs, don't resist the vaccinations, hinders or endangers any person who is authorized to carry out and who is engaged in an activity that carries out any of the provisions of the order shall be fined not more than $1,000 or imprisoned not more than 1 year, or both for each offense. Probably never be seen again. But listen, they can delegate any employee. It's not a voted elected official that will choose whether or not you go to prison and whether or not you have to have the vaccine. Any employee of the Department of Public Health or any local health director will have the authority of the commissioner described in this section as the commissioners determine appropriate. Such authorized employee or director shall act as an agent of the commissioner. People have talked about false flags for the last couple of years, and red flags, every kind of flag. This is the one. It's real. We know Ebola is real. We don't know how it became as real as it did. Is it man-made? We've heard everything in the world about this disease. We know that there's patents held on it. But here it is. They have everything in FEMA Region 3 ready. Now Connecticut is stepping in, walking in lockstep with Liberia's president. Let one case break out. Now it won't happen overnight, but they're setting it up. Now it is in place. No one got to vote on this. Now again, we got to look at it realistically. You've got to isolate the disease, but is it put there on purpose? We need to pay attention to this, guys. It's a heads up. We're going to update it. Be safe.
And if you've been following the narrative for quite some
October
time.
10th, 2014.
Sorry, I hate those lists. If you've been following the narrative for quite some time, they have been building up to something. And we've, in the quote-unquote truth movement, whatever you want to call it, tinfoil hat wearers, conspiracy theorists, I don't care what you call me. We've been following this for quite some time, and they've been building up ammunition, they've been building up weapons, they've been building up these coffins, they've been, all kinds of things. The UN is proportioned or apportioned, or whatever word you want to use, around the country. And we've had, I don't even know what the number is now. I'd hate to even know. Last I knew, it was in upwards of 500,000 to 650,000 foreign troops here for training. And, they come in and they don't go out. So what are all these foreign troops here for? We've watched them break up the country into FEMA regions. We know about the FEMA camps. Come on. Either they knew something was going to happen ahead of time, or they're purposely doing something ahead of time. Either way, this is no joke. This is no game. In the last day or two, I guess, it's really been shut down on the information that's coming out. Today, I've even made the comment a couple of times, is it's just too quiet. I've got an uneasy feeling. It's just too quiet. I believe the last report, and it's unconfirmed, but I believe it was mentioned that 14 different states. And of course, you're not hearing this on the mainstream news or anything else. It's amazing how quick they're coming back with the tests on some of these people. It's ridiculous. The documents, they pretty much say it all. Oh, wow. Of course, it's not big enough for me to read it on my screen. Hang on. Let me open up. Wow. Gotta love that. Let me get it open on my screen here so I can actually read the thing. So here is to the Honorable, I always love that, the Honorable Denise Merrill, Secretary of State, State Capitol, Hartford, Connecticut. And a couple other people. Who cares? Declaration of Public Health Emergency. Dear Secretary Merrill and clerks of the General Assembly, in response to the epidemic of the Ebola virus currently affecting multiple countries in Western Africa, and in order to provide the Commissioner of Public Health and other appropriate officials with all authorities necessary to prevent any potential transmission of the Ebola virus within the state of Connecticut, I hereby declare public health emergency for the state. Pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, Section 19A-131A, for the duration of this epidemic. What epidemic? Right? The one over there? Specifically in accordance to or with Connecticut General Statute, Section 19A-131B, I authorize the Commissioner of Public Health to order the isolation or quarantine under conditions prescribed by the Commissioner of Public Health of any individual or group of individuals whom the Commissioner reasonably believes to have exposed to, infected with, or otherwise at risk passing the Ebola virus. I am filing this declaration with you under my hand and seal on this 7th day of October 2014. That is medical martial law. Let's not play word games. That's exactly what it is. The next document there, I've got like a million screens up here. is it's titled, and I'm not going to read it all. Governor Malloy signs order that will assist the state's emergency response in the event of a confirmed infection or exposure to Ebola. If I'm not mistaken, this is some of what he was going over. That's why I'm not going to read all this again. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's to the point to where they've, like I said, they've got everything in place. I'm convinced that these no refusal DUI checkpoints that they've had across the country, to where they were taking, volunteer, of course, DNA tests on people. And by the way, you should see the videos of the people that said no to the volunteer part of it. They were kidnapped. They were strapped down to tables. They call it no refusal. I really don't understand what part of that was no refusal. But people need to be aware of what's going on. This is very, very real. You have to be aware of the distractions that's going on in the country, because there seems to be plenty of those as well. Trying not to get distracted, whether it be TV or sports or whatever the case may be. Oh, wow. My show came up in Chinese today, being announced on Twitter. How does that happen? Anyway, so just be vigilant with this Ebola thing. Put your ear to the ground. Don't trust anything that you're hearing from the officials. Obama's lying, the CDC is lying, the WHO is lying. It's apparent they want this disease to spread. On Twitter today, that director of the CDC, Tom, whatever his name is, I'm tired. It's been one of those days. He was trying to explain to people once again about why we can't, forbid all flights coming from those areas coming into the country, and how that would put others at risk. And I replied to his tweet, not that I know Twitter that well, but I did reply to his tweet. And I said, so, it's crazy to think that we can't, have special flights, more or less. I forget how exactly I worded it, but I don't understand why there can't be special flights to go in and out of there. I don't understand why it has to be just left open. I mean, why can't we charter, that's the word I'm looking for, charter specific flights for workers going in and out of those areas? Why do we, why is it just got to be all flights or none? And I've seen this narrative in this country a lot with a lot of different things. Even the media on social media, they give people options. And I started speaking up as soon as I noticed that. They started, giving people options. They'll ask an opinion, and, it'd be like A, B, C, or D, And they didn't originally do that. I watched them start implementing that, and I knew exactly the psyops that was going on behind it. And I even warned people about it. And that's how they're trying to deal with everything else. Oh, well, it's either got to be this way or this way. There's no room for discussion, no room for any other ideas or anything like that. You just kind of more or less, you get what you get as far as options, even when they absolutely do not make any sense. So I guess that's about all I can say about the Ebola thing. Just be prepared. I watched a video from Tom Loopshoe, and he was saying the same things that I've been saying: 90 days worth of food and supplies, to be able to basically lock yourself away from everything for at least 90 days, because I think that should probably be good enough for it to run its course for the most part through the country. So I just don't see us escaping this. I see it as a huge reality for us within the coming weeks. It's not going to take long. They're lying about the numbers over in Africa and everything else. It's just ridiculous. It really is. I'll pull up this screen. Hopefully, if I need to show you something else, I don't forget to change it, or the program changes it, one or the other. But yeah, it's just really interesting. As far as the Ferguson thing, wow, I've seen a lot of people going off again about the people in Ferguson. I did have one other thing. Let me make sure it wasn't Ferguson related. No, I'll save that for part of Monday. So look, nobody knows whether or not this new kid, whether he was armed or not. Witnesses are saying that he wasn't armed. He was holding a sandwich, and the police were saying he had a 9mm, and who knows the truth. I do know the police say that he jumped out of bushes, okay? And there are no bushes at that location. So I don't understand how the kid jumped out of bushes that weren't there. That's a bit confusing for me. There's a lot of things. The police keep changing their stories again. It's just like the other case. But that's not so much what I wanted to talk about. Whether or not he shot at police, or again, I wasn't there. Nobody was except for the witnesses, and that's not to say that they're being honest either. So, we could argue about it all day long. It's not going to get us anywhere. But there are some things that are facts. I'm going to talk about something that's uncomfortable for me because I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I totally disagree with it. I want to put my stance and my thoughts and my feelings out there up front because it's probably going to upset a lot of people with what I've got to say. But again, I want to say that I am 110% against it. But I'm not, the facts are facts. So on social media today, I see a lot of ranting going on because on video last night, the protesters, obviously upset, were burning American flags. And that really set a lot of people off. I've seen all kinds of comments from that's illegal to they need to leave the country to you name it. So let's get the facts straight. It's not illegal to burn the American flag. It is a fully acceptable use of the First Amendment. That is been decided on by the Supreme Court. Now, my opinion, I have to agree. Yeah, it would be, as much as I hate the idea, it would be a form of freedom of expression, freedom of speech. Even though I disagree with it, facts are facts, and the laws say that they can do it. The interesting thing is the people I've seen that are posting the same things, and I am thinking of a person in general that I at one time was a neighbor to. Every time anything comes up about Ferguson or protests or anything like that, especially with this Ferguson thing or this new one's called, they're calling it the Shaw shooting, it's totally inflammatory comments. And while I think they need to pull off, and I'm talking about I mean the protesters, need to pull a little bit away from this race issue if they want to get anything done. They really do. I'm not saying there's not a race issue. I'm not saying it doesn't need addressed. I'm not saying it should be swept under the rug or anything else. But that is just those in control playing people. That's a fact. It's a hot button topic. It's the same thing if I brought up gay marriage or if I brought up abortion, or they're hot button topics that people get fired all up about, and, so if they can keep that argument, it's not a discussion, it's an argument. If they can keep the race argument going, then nothing is being done about the actual problem. The actual problem is the militarization of the police, the absolute dominant control of our government and the agencies that's supposed to be there to protect us, to serve us. They're supposed to be our employees, not our oppressors. It's ridiculous when every day you're seeing stories about how people's houses are getting no-knock raided. I mean, SWAT teams are responded because somebody's grass is too high. Okay, and then you get these horrible murders because that seems like that's what they are. I brought it up once before. I'm not going to out anybody, but I know of someone that, and I've been distraught before, so I'm not just pointing anybody out. I've done my share of issues, personal mental issues, and there was somebody I know that was distraught, and they were out in their yard. Luckily, they lived outside of town, and they were firing a firearm off, yelling at cars as it was driving by, and stuff like that. They were extremely distraught. And of course, the police were called. They responded. And he's still here today. And it's not because he's white. It's because there has been a fundamental change in the way police respond to calls. Man, this whole stranger danger thing that started out in the 80s has gone too far. Absolutely too far. They train officers that every single person they talk to is lying, that every person they talk to is a threat, and that is simply not true. That's simply not true. There's a small handful that are actually a threat. It's ridiculous. And there are so many. I come from a small town. I don't know how many people, what the population is there right now. I mean, I could actually look. It'd only take me a second, but I'm going to guess somewhere around 10,000 people. Small town called Highland, Illinois. And I'm looking it up real quick. Not that it's that important, but I hate being wrong. 9,860 people. So I was close. And when we were growing up, that, by the way, that's roughly about the same amount of people that were there when I was growing up. It's not like the town just exploded in population or nothing. There were on duty maybe 4 police, maybe, and that would be like on a Friday evening or something like that, and that was fine. That was fine. It was absolutely a safe town, and it still is a safe town. I couldn't even tell you how many police they have on their force now. Couldn't tell you. Don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. There's probably, I'm going to guess, I'm going to just throw a guess out there. On, say, a Friday evening, there's probably easily 10 officers, if not 12 or something, on duty. And it's not necessary. It's really not necessary. And this has been happening in all kinds of towns and cities across the country. The police force is massive. Absolutely massive. And the training that they're receiving is ridiculous. That's what we need to be talking about. Because while everybody's saying, well, it's the black man, and I'm not being discriminatory or anything like that, but we're not discussing what the problem is. I just saw it today, as a matter of fact, on the old Evil book. It was, who was it that shared it? I think it was Cop Block. And if you're on Facebook, you can go to Cop Block and check. And it was about they post quite a bit. I'm just going to run down and see if I can find it. But it was a white gentleman that was, he actually wasn't killed, but he was distraught. And they responded, and the police responded. And I'm looking. It might be far down, I don't know. But anyway, they had responded, and the guy, they tear gassed his RV. He came out of his RV. He was on his hands and knees, right? On his hands and knees. And they still decided, yeah, here's the thing right here. 56-year-old Willie Desmond's son called the cops to do a wellness check on him because he was depressed. The cops showed up and filled his RV with tear gas. When Willie came out, the police shot him with rubber bullets and a taser while he was on his hands and knees choking. Not that it matters, but he's a white guy. So, let's really stop. I'm not saying that people of color don't get worse treatment, or that it doesn't happen more often, because I would be lying. I would be hiding from the truth. But we have to get this where its root is, and its root's not racism. That is a part of it, but it is not the root. I've always been told by my dad, nip things in the bud, nip things in the bud. I've always been told through psychology, you have to get to the root of things. And they're laughing at us when we're sitting there arguing about things like race or gay marriage or abortion, or they love us to argue about anything other than what the actual issue is. If people want to see our government get scared, if they want to see our government shake, then we need to start holding them accountable instead of each other. Instead of this race or this religion or that, that's what we have to do. We have to start holding the government accountable, period. And then we can deal with all the other issues. But I'm telling you right now, if we lose our rights to humanity, we've lost everything. And that's what they're taking. Every time they divide us up into another group and say, well, you need to fight for this or you need to fight for that, we're losing more humanitarian rights. It's a fact. We can battle and we can battle and we can battle. And we will never, ever get anywhere. Last night I was up till, I don't remember what time the streams quit. I know I came on and I broadcasted for 3 hours, just over 3 hours. And I will come on tonight if things get testy there tonight. I will do the same as I did last night. And I would say to probably watch for it, probably to expect it. I'll tweet it out and all that good stuff. So if you haven't joined our Twitter, please join our Twitter. Put it on Facebook. Join our Facebook. Of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It was a long night. And I got up relatively early this morning, and it's been a rainy, dreary day. So, yeah, you can probably hear it in my voice. I'm tired. I'm wore out. I'm not really so much frustrated over the fact that people aren't getting it. It's not that it seems that people want their freedoms in this country, but they want only if it suits them. And we have to get away from that. That's authoritarian, and I'm sure there's many other words to describe it as well. I'm definitely not an English major, but I do know it's authoritarian. But it seems to be the same groups. What is it with these groups? And it's not always the same, but it's like a solid block of the same people that are always against protesting. Always against protesting. But I bet if their Second Amendment really gets threatened in a legal way, you'll see them out protesting. They were before. Some people call them the Tea Party, and I'm not picking sides here, and I'm a circle. I have no sides. It's ridiculous. It really is. And I only said Tea Party because that was the group that was out protesting about Second Amendment rights and stuff like that. I'm not pointing any group out or demonizing any group, or I don't belong to any group. I'm not left, right, independent, anything. I will not allow myself to be, I support the Constitution in its entirety. And that goes whether or not I agree or disagree with something. I don't agree with burning the flag. That makes me cringe. It really does. But I can't say that they're not allowed to do it. I can't say they shouldn't do it. I can't say that it's illegal, like I've seen on social media, because it's not true. I would hope that people would understand that flag a little bit better. At the same time, I think those, including myself, that are a bit touchy about the American flag need to understand that that is symbolism. See, those in control have this country, the people of this country, acting like it's a football game, right? And that's all it is. We're totally desensitized. Totally. You got people that don't want other people to make any money, right? Yeah, this group can't make any money. I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't understand that. Now, I did once before say I was in full support of, say, people making, minimum wage being $15 an hour and stuff like that. And I listened to an episode of the Josh Tolley show, and he explained it in a way that I understood that that's not real possible, because it really would hurt the job creators. It really would. It made sense. So I had to go back to what I started saying years ago. The original thing is, if we're going to help the economy, we have to tax imports. We have to tax imports very heavily, because if you do that, that will encourage companies to manufacture here. I mean, it's pretty simple. If it's cheaper to make something here than it is in China, then that's more jobs for us. Point blank. And the only way at this point that you can even do that is by taxing imports. See, the worst things you want to hear, and I know we got a little off Ferguson or Ebola, but the worst words that you ever want to hear is we have to better compete with the global economy. Okay, because there's only one way we can, quote unquote, better compete with the global economy, and that's to lower our standards of living. That's a fact. Again, it's just a play on words. They love that. Just like with the Ebola right now, everything's an abundance of caution. No, if they were taking an abundance of caution, they would be closing the borders. That's a fact. I've got Michelle's link and Jason's link down there, and it's going to become a part of every day. It will always be down there. That way, hopefully, people will go check out these sources. They're awesome sources. But I saw, and I think it was Jason that posted. I could be wrong. They may have both posted it about the southern border, and somebody was confirming or something about Ebola coming up through that. It's ridiculous. So they've got everybody running in circles, chasing their own tails, and it's tiring. It really is, especially those that's trying to keep up with what's going on, trying to inform other people of what's going on. And then you got people, like people that somebody in particular I went to high school with, trying to make snide remarks, you should be an anchorman and all that. Look, man, what are you doing? Taking your car to the car show? That's helping the country. I'm sure the country appreciates that. He's not doing nothing. Oh, well, I work 40 hours a week, blah, 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 blah. Okay, slave. I'm not saying just because you got a job, you work 40 hours a week, you're a slave. What I'm saying is, by having that attitude that, hey, stand in line, step in line, don't get out of line, I don't get it. I don't understand that. We've lost everything in this country. We've lost our Bill of Rights. We've lost our workers' rights. We've lost it all. We've lost our ability to properly communicate with one another. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. This is a nation in distress. And if we don't do something now, we're not going to be able to pull out of it. My guess is it would take at least 20 years for us to pull out of the mess that we're in now. And that's if we all sit down together and stop bickering and arguing and actually come up with solutions and get these people that are in control and in office and in these corporations out of our country. It's the only thing we can do. But we can't start to rebuild until we remove that first. You know, you got to get rid of that tumor before you can start getting rid of the cancer. And that's exactly what's going on. But you know, next time, and I try to do this on a daily basis, but next time you want to get critical about something that someone's standing up for or speaking out about, think. Because they have a right to do that, whether you agree with it or not. That's a fact. That's what this country was founded on. That's what made this country strong. That's what gave this country competitive spirit. It's what caused our country to be top in education, top in manufacturing, top in just about everything. We've lost it. We've lost every bit of all of that. And you know, we can point our fingers at the president and the administration and all we want. No, we took our eye off the ball. It was us. So the only way we're going to be able to fix anything is to start this narrative, stop getting involved in these special interest groups or these special interests, and we need to put the country first, not our individual differences, the country. And the best way to do that is to strictly adhere to that Constitution that our forefathers geniusly wrote. They knew what they were doing. That's amazing. And if there's any question as to what one of the amendments means or this or that means, go look. They've made several quotes backing up what that was intended to say. There can't be a whole lot of arguing if you put the two together. You know, the whole theory that the Second Amendment was just for hunting and that, you know, each individual wasn't part of the militia, that's crazy talk. If you look at the quotes made by several of the signers and the right, you know, it's just astounding to me how they are doing everything they can to twist it. It's absolutely crazy. It really is. I don't know. That's what I have for you tonight. It's just one of those days. It really is. I'm gonna do my best to enjoy my weekend. I will come back up and do the same thing I did last night. Just more or less restream, mirror, whatever you want to call it, live feeds. If anything goes on, it is kind of rainy in the area, so we'll see what happens. If it does stop raining long enough, I'm sure that it will get pretty crazy over there in St. Louis tonight, considering it's Friday night. Emotions are still high, and wow, yeah, we'll see. I don't know what to think about so much of this stuff. I don't know what to think. I don't know. Hang in there. Hang in there. That's what I got for you. May God bless you. May you walk with you. Be one with your spirit. I do love y'all. Hopefully we can get these narratives open soon and we can get this country back healed. I don't know. It's getting pretty late in the ball game, so to speak. All right. Y'all have a good weekend. Be safe.